My name is Dan Carney. It's my privilege to be the chairman of this Board of Trustees for Weatherford College. This is a meeting of the Board of Trustees of Weatherford College being held on Thursday, January the 11th, 2024, beginning at 12:30 p.m. in the community room of Virgin Technologies and Workforce Building, located at 225 College Park Drive, Weatherford, Texas, to consider and act upon a posted agenda. I do hereby call this meeting to order, and I ask Mr. Baker if he would give us an invocation.
Happy to, sir. Please bow with me. Lord, we're thankful for the new year, new beginnings, fresh start. Thank you for this college and how you blessed us so much in this past year. With a great ending to 2023, we pray you bring your blessings on our students, faculty, and staff in 2024, and you be with our board as they deliberate today. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Brent. Stand and we'll recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Worley, do we have any public comment that has signed up to speak today?
No, sir.
Thank you very much. The third item is the President's report. President Farmer, what do you have for us, sir?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair and members of the Weatherford College Board of Trustees, I would like to give a few brief recognitions, employee notices, and an enrollment update. Recognitions. Weatherford College, Wise County was recently named the Large Business of the Year at the annual Wise County Chamber of Commerce banquet. Congratulations to Dean Kristen McLaughlin, Trustee Dr. Robert Marlette, and the entire WCWC team. Dean McLaughlin, would you please stand so that we can give you a round of applause? Congratulations to Coach Bob McKinley on a career-level accomplishment of 1,000 wins. We will be honoring him at a celebration reception on Thursday, January 18th from 4:30 to 6:30 p.m. in the community room of the Emerging Technologies and Workforce Building. Dr. Ito Yaga, Dr. Ibe, and many other faculty and staff members planned and executed a successful Connections Week. These were the most comprehensive professional development activities that we have had at WC, and more professional development is currently in the planning stages. Recognition is in order for the Phi Theta Kappa Honor Society and our Vet Tech Club. The pet supply drive was highly successful. Much needed pet food and supplies were donated to the Weatherford Parker County Animal Shelter. Employee notices. DMAC Local requires that the college president provide the names of contracted employees that have resigned since the last board meeting. Terrence Paddock, a biology instructor, resigned effective 12/31/23. We thank Terrence for his service and wish him the very best in future endeavors. Enrollment report. As of Thursday, January 4th, we had 4,165 students registered for the spring 2024 semester, compared to a year-to-date enrollment of 4,033 students last year. With enrollment ongoing, that represents an increase of 132 students, or a 3.2% enrollment increase. And I think I just overheard Dr. T say that we were up 9% as of today. So it's strong enrollment for the spring semester. Mr. Chair, that concludes the President's report.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Item number 4 is the consent agenda and financial reports. There are 4 items listed there that have been posted for some time now. Are there any comments or questions from any members of the board about any of those 4 items? Having none, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda and financial reports?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, please raise your hand. Appears to be unanimous. Thank you very much. Item number 5 is consideration and possible action, update and approval of contract negotiations with Touchstone regarding management services of Canyon West Golf Course. Dr. Cantrell.
Thank you. At the December 7th board meeting, the board, you all,
authorized the college to go ahead and begin negotiations with Touchstone for, they finalized and approved it. They've approved the contract, but we're working on the finalization of it. They asked for this to go to the attorney for review. I know the next day Dr. Farmer called over and visited with the attorney a little bit, but at that time we had Christmas that got in the way. So we only received the recommendations for the contract on Tuesday afternoon late. And so we're not ready today. I have reviewed, they sent it to us, and I have reviewed it, looked at it, and I don't see any major changes that we're going to have problems with. I wouldn't think so. But we will have to, we haven't forwarded that on to the Touchstone yet. We have been working closely with Touchstone. Last week we had a 2 or 3 hour Zoom call with them with several of the different departments that will be working with them, such as the business office and technology, purchasing. We had other people involved, shipping, receiving, that goes over the inventory. But with that said, we also met with them. They're here on campus. They came in last night, I believe, and we had a 2 hour long meeting with them this morning, trying to work out the last minute kinks that could come up and all that. And we'll be turning that recommended, when we're finished reviewing it ourselves, that recommended contract to them and let them come back with us. I know you all visited with J.C. Edwards last board meeting, and you had a few concerns, and you wanted some answers too. So J.C. has worked as a liaison between the two, and I know that today that they're going to, in their presentation, that Touchstone will be addressing some of those questions. So I'm going to turn it over to J.C. since she's worked with them so very closely, and let her introduce them, and we'll move forward at this point.
Thank you, Doctor.
Good afternoon, and good to see everybody again. Touchstone, as Andrew said, will be providing a short presentation, just talks about a little bit about their company, and also addresses some of the areas that you, the Board of Trustees, have stated that you have questions or concerns about. So hopefully you get those answered today. Presenting today will be Brian Melody, Senior Vice President of Operations, as well as Doug Harker, Executive Vice President. So Doug and Brian, I will turn it over to you.
Good afternoon, Chairman Carney and the board.
Good afternoon, sir.
Thank you for having us today. We look forward to any additional questions you might have after you've had a chance to go through a few slides. As mentioned, this is Brian Melody, Senior Vice President of Operations for Touchstone. He's based out of Denver, Colorado, covers 4 states in the southwest central U.S. Just briefly also introduce Kate Carney, he's our HR Director from Austin. Chris Mead, Senior Manager over Texas Properties out of Fredericksburg. And Ashley Van Dissel, our Vice President of Sales and Marketing, also based out of Denver. She covers Touchstone courses in all 8 states in which we operate.
Thank you all for coming.
We thank you for the opportunity. Canyon West is a very exciting project for us. There's a lot of dynamics we were discussing this morning that fuel that excitement, and we're very much looking forward to getting started sometime around the 1st of February. I'm going to briefly just touch on a few slides that are in your board package just to reorient you to who we are, but I want to focus on the slides in the later part of the slide deck that address some of the questions that JC said that you would have. My brother and I started the company back in 2005. We grew up in the golf industry. My first job earning money back when you could do that, I was 8 years old. My brother was 10. So we've been in the golf industry a long time and know it very well. We are honored to be on the National Golf Foundation's list of the top 100 golf companies in the United States. One of the things that is unique about us as a company is we strategically focus on nonprofit, municipal, and government enterprises. It represents well over half of our portfolio of golf courses under management. And it's a very diverse group of entities. We have the U.S. government, we have special taxing authorities, we have park districts, and now we have an educational institution. So very excited about working with all of you. I'm not going to go through this in detail, but there are 2 things that I wanted to point out that are very important I think, especially for Canyon West. The first is that we are not a one-size-fits-all company. We evaluate each property uniquely, and we address and recommend business planning that focuses around the uniqueness of that property. Your property has a lot of very unique characteristics, and we will design the strategy around those characteristics. The second item I want to point out is to the far left, which is programming prioritization. Programming to us is more than holding a golf tournament or making a golf course available for golfers. Programming to us is about bringing the entire community into the golf course environment. So we mentioned this morning in our meeting that when we feel we've achieved success, it's not just because the golfers are happy, it's because everybody that knows anything about the golf course or ever did anything about, or ever spent any time at the golf course thinks highly of the golf course. To us, it's very much a community asset, and it's something that should be enjoyed by more than just golfers, and programming is how we accomplish that. This is our leadership team. I've already introduced to you several. Our controller, Carol McGrail, is not on here today just because she didn't make the trip with us. My brother Steve up there left, and Mark Bluthman. Steve, Mark, and I are the three owners of Touchstone Golf, and you'll see in the later slide that one of the cornerstones of our company is that you as an organization, as a client, are always going to have access to the ownership of our company. We decided long ago we're never going to grow to a point where our clients don't have access to the owners. And so that's been a unique feature for us. This is just an example of programming. I won't go through these in details, but this is a typical portfolio of activities that occur at Touchstone facilities today. We tailored this a little bit to the nature of your organization, such as themed college days and campus club events and things like that. But a golf course is a roughly 200-acre space. Yes, it's primarily a golf course, but it could be so much more in terms of activities and programming to the community. And with the base of students and faculty and staff and alumni that you have, there's no reason that it can't be that in this situation. Down below are two proprietary websites we run for our clients. So there's no cost to our clients to participate in those websites. But what they do is uniquely feature each property's attributes as it relates to receptions, which can obviously be wedding receptions, but other functions like that, and also golf tournaments. We use these for lead generation, and Canyon West will be featured on those websites. We don't, to be clear about this slide, we don't have a current business plan for you. We have ideas, and we think we know generally, directionally, where the golf course and facilities there need to be headed, but we have a lot more work to do. It actually takes some time on the ground to fully understand the golf course, the physical attributes, the layout, the community, in this case, very importantly, the client, Weatherford College, and we'll use all that to formulate an initial plan and recommendation, and that'll be refined as we go along. But when we look sort of high level from 30,000 feet, this is a general idea of some of the areas we think are going to need some attention with the golf course. Some of these are fairly standard, like installing our customer service program. Some of them I think are a little bit unique, like developing broader food and beverage capabilities. Currently, all the private events, the way we understand it, utilize outsourced food when you have a full-service commercial kitchen available to service food. We run a wide range of food and beverage type of venues at Touchstone properties. Those range from fine dining to simple snack bars. And we'll want to get the right formula here to make sure that we leverage the food and beverage operation at Canyon West. Just a quick organization chart. We often get asked, well, how does this actually work in terms of your organization? We report to you at the end of the day. Usually the client is going to have some designated group and or representatives that are the primary contacts, in this case currently JC. Brian Melody, who is to my left here, is our head of operations for this region. Chris Mead is our senior manager who you met. They are going to supervise the general manager that's assigned to the golf course, someone that we're currently searching for. And then below are the four main departments that we operate in our structure. This is the beginning of the slides to talk a little bit about some things that JC mentioned you might want to learn more about. The first was communication. As I mentioned at the onset, we're not a one-size-fits-all company, so we don't come in and say, this is how communication works in the golf course management industry. More importantly, it's going to be about what communication does the college need from Touchstone. There's always a regularly scheduled meetings with our general managers. Those can be done with representative staff members. Those can be done periodically with the board, more as needed. We also bring our senior management in, both Chris and Brian as needed for periodic reviews. We often do monthly financial reviews with the accounting and finance teams of our clients. And periodically we do course tours. So we can sit here and talk about things we've accomplished in terms of the golf course, but sometimes you actually have to see it to appreciate it. So all of those are examples of ways that we meet and communicate with our clients. The other thing that I mentioned early on is you always have access to Touchstone ownership. I'll be initially the designated owner of Touchstone that is available to you, and honestly, the way the golf business works, we're 24/7. So if you have a question, you're not satisfied with an answer you're getting from our GM or anyone else on our management team, and you want to talk about it, you definitely have access to me for that purpose. Liquor license. So as we understand it, there is an existing liquor license that the college owns, and that's great. That allows us to start service on 2/1 without any interruption. We may operate under your liquor license under TABC rules. In that case, when you own the liquor license, all the revenue and expense associated with the liquor license is for your account. All liquor entities in Texas that are decently managed are very profitable, as you can imagine. We manage under that license. There's no additional costs for us to manage under your license. It's all included in our management fee. And that option does provide you the maximum benefit in terms of the profitability of the alcohol license flowing down through your bottom line. The other option is we can hold the license. We wouldn't do that on 2/1 because it would take a little bit of time to obtain the license. We currently do that for 4 public clients in Texas. The others have their own license, as you do today. When we hold the license, we are limited to paying out a maximum amount of concession rent to the client, the owner of the property, of 45% of revenue. So there is at least an initial capitation there. We do charge a monthly management fee that comes out of those liquor profits that Touchstone retains. That's mostly for the preparation of financial statements, filing of sales tax and liquor tax. We also, because the entity will be profitable, we do have to pay income taxes out of Touchstone on it. That's money that would otherwise go to the benefit of the college. Now, when we manage liquor licenses, as we do for, say, the city of Lancaster nearby, or the city of Austin, or the Water Authority in El Paso, there are ways for us to manage the profits down when we own the license. We can't legally agree to that, but it makes sense why we would do that. And the way we do that is we invest in assets that generate more revenue in either alcohol or food and beverage. So the simplest example I always use is we can buy a margarita machine. So if there's $5,000 of profits that would be taxed, that we would have to retain taxes for, we could acquire a margarita machine and eliminate that $5,000 of taxable income, also increasing the services and revenue associated with the alcohol operation. We can also invest in non-alcohol assets, such as furniture, equipment for the food and beverage operations, things that are not specific to alcohol. But we are limited in the amount we can invest in that when we own the license to the percent by which alcohol represents total F&B revenue. So in a simple example, if you were to buy all new banquet chairs and tables, those serve both food and alcohol, we could contribute, if it was 50-50, we could contribute 50% of that out of the profits of the alcohol entity, the other 50% coming from the college. So that's kind of a high-level view of this. We are totally neutral on how you want to do this. We are fine operating under your license, as we do in many places, including down for the city of Fredericksburg, and we are fine holding the license. Ultimately, our goal is we're not trying to make money off an alcohol license. That's not our business and our business model. We make money managing golf courses. But that'll give you some idea of that, and when we come back later for questions, if you have questions on that, I'd be happy to answer. One of the things that's very unique here, and honestly very exciting for us, is working with an educational institution such as yours about possible opportunities to either create new educational opportunities at the college or expand existing opportunities. And these are just some of the examples of the overlap that exists between what you currently do or could do and what the asset you now have under your ownership 10, 12 minutes from here. So we are excited about that. We think we can help with curriculum design and things of that nature, and would love to see the college help further your overall mission in terms of academics. Equally exciting is just the sheer employment base of 5,000 plus students. By the way, that is one of the most beautiful dormitories I've ever seen on any college campus. So kudos to you for that beautiful structure. But many of our golf courses today, or I should say all of our golf courses in some form or the other, have a substantial student workforce involved. One of the areas that's particularly useful with a student workforce is when you hold large banquet and private events on all that hospitality space you have at Canyon West. So you need a lot of flex employees. Students often looking to make a few extra dollars to supplement their budget. It's a perfect marriage to be able to leverage that. But there are any number of the functions that we do out there today, and we know there are quite a few students working there as we speak, that they could not only learn something about the trade or learn something about the industry. We have numerous examples of people that have started in our company in roles that you would never think of them as evolving to general manager or six-figure type incomes, and yet probably the best example off the top of my head is Stephanie Parson. Stephanie was a beverage cart attendant at Gray Rock Golf Course in Austin. She served drinks and food on the golf course and drove the beverage cart around. She is not only the general manager of that property now, she has been named amongst a very tough group to achieve this with, General Manager of the Year in Touchstone Golf. So there's a lot of advancement opportunities in our company, and no reason why many of your students might not wind up in that position. And then one of the other questions that was asked was, what are the types of maintenance and activities at a golf course that would normally be covered by revenue versus items that we would consider more capital expenditures. So I tried to create a few examples of that. Things that are typically covered by revenue and in a normal budget are the conditioning of the golf course, minor budgeted repairs, changing out sprinklers, HVAC systems going down, regular equipment repairs, carts if they're electric are constantly needing batteries, even in gas, there's spark plugs and other things that are constantly being addressed. And then replacement items. Most of the things we have are consumables such as pins and cups and flags and range balls and all those sorts of things. So those are typically built into the budget process. Examples of things that are either done in a separate capital budget or are not, or unbudgeted and unexpected would be equipment restoration, overhaul of systems such as the pumps went down, the irrigation system had to be replaced, hazard damage. I know we've got cold weather moving in, and we're thrilled to hear that you have covers for your greens. Not everybody does. There is a fail-safe thing to do when you don't have covers, but covers are always better. Renovations, such as if bunkers or greens need to be rebuilt, or tees, any of those things, or any type of building renovation or expansion. So hopefully that gives you a little flavor. We are accustomed to keeping a running capital budget for you so that we can anticipate down the line. So typically clients last for 3 years, kept up to date, one for the current year and 2 years out, and we can adjust that to whatever meets your needs. So that was a lot of information, but I knew you probably would have questions. Brian and I are here to answer those along with our team. We're absolutely thrilled to have the opportunity to become a part of Canyon West, and we really look forward to a long relationship building that property up. Yes, sir.
Now, tell me a little bit about your brother Steve. What's his role as the CEO, and what does he do?
Sure. So, as I said, Steve and I grew up in the golf industry together. When he graduated from college in the early 80s, he immediately went into what was the largest golf operator, became the largest golf operator, American Golf Corporation. He rose up through the ranks to become the senior vice president of marketing. He was, his reputation in the industry was the turnaround guy. He was the guy that when American Golf couldn't get a golf course doing what it was supposed to do, they would send my brother in, and he was very successful at that. Steve handles, overall corporate direction, strategy, acquisitions today. He is based out of California, as is Mark. With our geographic coverage, we found it to be beneficial to have the executives in different locations. Our home base, though, is Austin, Texas, in terms of the heartbeat and operation of the company. He is a member of the PGA. He has been on the boards of the National Golf Foundation, and I believe the PGA of America committee system. He is a well-known individual in the golf industry. Mark Luthman, our president, had a little bit different. He also grew up in the golf industry, but Mark went the route of superintendent. So Mark's expertise is in agronomy. So while Steve is more marketing and management on that side of the equation, Mark is more on the agronomy side. Myself, just by way of background, I've been involved in golf forever. I've run golf courses. I've also had a couple of detours in banking. I was a turnaround guy in the banking industry. Did that several times, but usually was out of that and back in golf. I'm also a former member of the United States Golf Association committee system. Founded the Southern Texas Golf Association, former board member of the Houston Golf Association. And what really thrills me about being involved in Canyon West personally, among all the other things we've talked about, is the ability to work with your golf teams. Amateur golf is very important to me, always has been. I've devoted most of my free time, volunteer time over the years to amateur golf, and anything we can do to help your golf team, we're here to do it, including the donation we'll make right out of the gate.
One more question, your academic integration, you mentioned that. Just what's your experience in that as a company?
Well, I would like to offer that we have a extensive experience training and developing people, but do we have the type of educational experience you have? We don't.
Okay.
That's why I said we can help design the curriculum and make sure that the right things are being taught and learned as part of some type of associate degree or degree that the program that you're offering. But we would not have a lot of experience directly in that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Harker, if I can bounce off of that, you appropriately mentioned employment opportunities for our students at Canyon West. This type of training that you reference and how we may be able to supplement that here at the college, we would be interested in partnering with you on high-need areas throughout all of your golf courses nationwide to perhaps fill some employment needs that you have and provide some employment opportunities for our students here at the college. Could you speak to that?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, Dr. Farmer, because it actually came up at lunch. We're always searching for talent, and there are a few programs in the industry, not many. You may be familiar with one at Sam Houston State University, and Huntsville has a official sort of PGA sanctioned golf management program. But there are not many like that in the U.S. And so we're often grooming and building our own talent. If we had the opportunity to partner with someone like you to formally train people for the disciplines that are necessary and important and productive in the golf industry that could lead to job opportunities throughout our system, we would be absolutely thrilled. I mean, bringing people in that have already been coached and trained and developed on the things we know are important is far better than one-on-one training that we often have to do in our industry today. It's a really exciting opportunity. Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
Relative to Weatherford College here, you have an estimated profitability or profit schedule estimated for us at some point down the line?
We will present, as part of our obligation, a contract for the remainder, budget for the remainder of your fiscal year ending August 31st by March 15th. You might ask, why does it take that long? I mean, as I explained this morning, we could turn around a budget in a few hours if we just went off into a room and did it. The reason we take that time is we really learn a lot once we're on the ground, and we don't want to be presumptuous about expenses or revenue that we should be including in that budget. But as that budget moves through drafts, we can share those with JC and the team to make sure they're aware of what we're thinking. You have an existing budget. We'd like to try to work within that framework. On the surface, based on the historical information we had access to, which is somewhat limited, it appears the golf course today breaks even or somewhere in that neighborhood. It's a little hard to say because our method of accounting might be a little different than the accounting assumptions being used in those financials. I'm not sure all of that was on an accrual basis, and we use accrual accounting in our systems. I think the important part about budgeting and profit projection is what is our client's objective. We have some clients who they're not interested, they're interested in the bottom line, but not at the sake of building the golf course for all the benefits of the community and the golfers and everything else. We have clients that have a more of a range mentality of we don't want to be outside this range, but we don't really care where we wind up as long as we're in that range. And then we have other clients, some of which are public entities, some of which are not, where it's all about the profit objective. And we're there to drive the bottom line to the highest level we can. In some cases, like the city of Austin, Grey Rock Golf Course supplements some of the deficits that have occurred at their other public city-owned golf courses over the years. So all of that is to say that we'll be looking to the college to understand, the client to understand what some of the objectives are. If it's, we'd like to see this course, I'll take the city of Fredericksburg, for example. What Clinton Bailey, who's now the city manager there, told me is, when we met, is, Doug, I would like to see this golf course someday make enough money to cover all of its deferred maintenance and capital. At the time, they were losing a substantial amount of money. Today, that golf course makes enough money under Chris's leadership to pay for their own capital. So that kind of direction, in whatever form the college finds its objective to be, is something we need from you to operate under. We can provide an endless option of investment for golf course conditioning and marketing and revenue for private events being held at the facilities there. But ultimately, a little direction from you on what you'd like to see accomplished will help guide us. Yes, ma'am.
Just because I've never dealt with liquor licenses, is there a shift in liability? Is there some positive to not having, I mean, if something happened and you guys own the liquor license, do you have more of a liability than we would just because we're the owning institution? How does that play?
Good question. So I'll start with insurance. So the insurance is going to be the same either way.
Okay.
Either it's your policy with us named as an additional insured, or I think in this case it'll be either way, whether you own license or we own license. We'll procure the liquor liability insurance. You'll be named as an additional insured, and then there's an umbrella policy on top of the alcohol license. Alcohol insurance to backstop all of that. As a practical matter, in our experience, it won't matter who owns the license. Okay. They're going to name you,
okay,
and they're going to name us.
Okay.
And then the insurance will kick in. We'll, of course, for any bad acts and things that we've done wrong under the agreement, we're going to indemnify you for that, and the insurance policy will be our mechanism to protect you. But knock on wood, it happens rarely, but occasionally there will be an incident. Mm-hmm. And when that incident happens, unfortunately, a plaintiff's attorney is going to name everybody they can name.
The manager, you touched on that just very briefly. Is it your idea you're going to be searching for someone outside of your company at this point, or are you looking to bring someone in that you already know, or do you even know the answer to that?
Our first step is always to look internally. Allows us to jumpstart the management process, sure. Somebody that knows our systems. We do have an internal candidate, works at another property, so we've kept the name confidential, and I believe we're going to try next week to bring that individual over to introduce them to representatives of the college to meet that individual. So we do have a candidate. We haven't broadcast the opening very widely now. We usually are a little careful with that and try to make sure the contract is in it, maybe not signed, but really is all but signed before we put something out in the marketplace.
Sure.
But we can do that. The other thing that's important to know is that we have structured our company in a way that we can dispatch a qualified interim general manager at all times. So we have an individual standing by that would be able to be on the ground February 1st, if not a few days before, for the transition, and be ready to assume day-to-day operations as a general manager. He's done that in half a dozen or more. I can't remember. Miguel is his name. He's an experienced operator, knows all the ins and outs of the golf business, and would be available short term. So we have a solution either way.
Thank you.
So to follow on to that question, so that everybody knows, the general manager and everybody that works the golf course is going to work for you.
They are Touchstone Golf employees. The distinction is, in under golf course management service contracts, the cost of those employees is ultimately borne by the golf course.
Yes, but they work for
They
Touchstone.
get Touchstone Golf pay stubs, they report to us. Usually in the contract, there will be some reference, or not, of things we can or can't do. For example, in some cases, we cannot hire a general manager or fire a general manager without your consent. The only other person that's usually included in that is the superintendent at the golf course facility, sometimes is included in that group. But generally beyond that, all of the hiring and firing and management and discipline and all that comes to you. I know your HR director that we met today was glad to hear that. One less headache for him, but that's part of what you're hiring us to do.
Okay. So Dr. Cantrell, back to, on to the insurance question. In our contract with them, do we spell out a level of insurance that they will be required to carry?
Yes, in the specs, I believe they carried everything except the property insurance. And that's what we would.
But in our contract with them, we spell out, you must have this insurance.
Right. Well, when the contract came back, I was reviewing that this morning. The contract came back, the attorney said whatever we designate to them, and we haven't.
Which we could probably
Yes.
add an exhibit or something.
But, so that's negotiable with the attorney. But that's what was in the specs, that we would carry the property insurance, because property is ours. And others would be carried by them, all
Yes,
the
we
others.
procure workers' comp, all these are golf course expenses, all of the liability coverages, auto, the umbrella that I mentioned, the alcohol liability. There are other corporate insurances we carry that we do not charge back to the golf course, such as employment practices, fiduciary, errors of omission, professional. Those are just corporate insurance that we cover as well, and you're effectively beneficiary of those as well.
We're listed as an additional insured on those policies.
So the golf course and all the capital equipment out there belong to the college, and we are responsible for it, and maintenance covers some of that, but replacement cost would be our, and I guess we can get into this later. You said you didn't care on the liquor license which way we went. Do you have a preference?
Well, just because you already have one, if I had a bias, it would be just leave things the way they are. That also maximizes the money going to the college for the operation of that license. You could always change that later. We could even build that into the contract, and if you decided we don't want the liquor license anymore, maybe when, I think it expires in 2025, so maybe you want to revisit it at that time.
It expires when?
Just so you know, the cost of this,
2025.
I'm sorry.
No, it expires what year?
25.
25.
The cost of us obtaining the license will be charged back against the profitability of the alcohol operation, and our client does advance the legal fees and the initial first 2-year license fee, but we pay it back because it's going to be profitable, so it's not hard to do. But we typically we don't want to come out of pocket and create a liquor license that we really don't find to get any benefit from it. So I guess to answer your question, I think leaving it the way it is probably the easiest. And we're happy to, we have a subsidiary that's We hold subsidiaries that don't have anything in them for this reason. We have one, and we're happy to deploy it for this if that's what the college is. On 2-1, we'll need to operate under your license. It'll take us, if we decide to go the route that we're gonna own the license, we'll need about 90 days to get it.
Mr. Dowd?
I had a question on the incentive fee period, and I realize I guess it's on EBITDA fiscal year to fiscal year comparison, but how do we measure the initial period, I guess, once you take over and you run it until August when the fiscal year ends? What period are we comparing that to, I guess?
You're talking for the incentive?
Yes.
Yes, so that, I think that's still up for discussion.
Okay.
It oftentimes, when the client hasn't been operating under an operation like ours, hard to get apples and apples.
Mhm.
So we would normally compare February 1st through August 31st this year. How did we do compared to the same period the prior year? Based on what I've seen, I'm not sure the same period the prior year is going to be really comparable. So we might come up with something else. It might be just a lump sum based on performance of the budget. Maybe it's got a range of incentives. We've got.
We can work through that,
Ways
yeah.
to do it. We're not, we hope this is a very long-term relationship. If we don't make incentive money out of the gate in the first 7 months or 6 months, it really doesn't matter to us. That's not why we're here.
Okay.
We'd really like to be able to show you that we can build on our own performance over time.
Yep.
And be incentivized for that.
And Doug, the attorney, in the letter that came back, the amendments that he recommended, there were some points to that.
Okay.
That he had some recommendations to work with them with.
Yep.
I think you want us to have an incentive, so we're doing things aligned with you. But if you decided in this first 6 or 7 months, it's just easier not to have an incentive, we're not going to work any less hard.
Yeah.
In that period, and we're perfectly comfortable with that. So
And you wanted to come up with a budget by March the 15th?
15th.
Yeah. And so,
45 days.
and so during that time, you can assess whether we need to make any big capital expenditures now or push them to next year, or whatever the case may be, I guess.
And we can also fine tune utilities and understand some of the bigger costs like electricity and things like that. We can do, usually it's a good 30 days on the ground and then 15 days to tidy up the budget. And that's why we use 45 days.
And you work directly with like Dr. Cantrell to do the budget every year and all, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, we're happy to share drafts as we're making progress. We budget on a very granular level. We're not a high-level budgeter. We're down in the weeds. We budget for every type of round,
Good.
how many rounds every month, what people are paying every month, what every bucket of range balls cost, how many we're going to sell. We're micro budgeters, and we found that to be helpful. Our goal, I run the budgeting process for Touchstone, and I tell everybody, we want to stretch. Don't get me wrong, but we want to be accurate. The goal of a good budget is we stretch, we did everything we thought we could do, but we hit the number, or better than the number. We never want to be short of the number, barring weather conditions and things that are beyond our control, but accurate budgets are important.
Any other comments or questions from anyone at this point? Thank you, sir.
Great
Thank you.
presentation.
Look forward to working with you.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. I believe we'd be down to the point of making a motion in accordance with the recommendation.
Yes, sir.
And so I'm going to ask for a motion which would track the recommendation from staff in our agenda. The motion being that the Board of Trustees authorize President Todd Allen Farmer to negotiate and execute final documents with Touchstone Golf to be effective February 1, 2024 for golf course management services at Canyon West Golf Course in the amount of $168,000 for an initial term of 24 months with 3 additional optional 12-month renewals, and approve adding Touchstone Golf employees Doug Harker, Carol McGrail, and Samantha Seastrand to the Weatherford College golf account at Prosperity Bank. Do I have a motion to that effect? Mr. Smith, yes? Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Bailey, I recognize you for the second. All in favor of the motion? Raise your hand, please. Appears to be unanimous.
Thank you.
So approved.
Welcome to Weatherford.
We're very glad to have you all involved with us. It's been a remarkable coming together of all kinds of different factors that have allowed us to be here. Starting with the Stewarts, we thank them so much for this opportunity and the educational opportunities that it's going to bring, not just a revenue opportunity, but the educational opportunity. We're thrilled about this, and we hope that we can have a partnership with you that will result in great benefit to everyone. Okay.
Mr. Chair, if I may briefly
Please.
add, in addition to those gratitudes, I'd like to acknowledge Dr. Cantrell, Lisa Simons, and especially J.C. Edwards, who have shepherded this through the entire donation process and done a tremendous amount of work to get us to where we are today. And all three of you, but especially J.C. Edwards, thank you so much for your diligent work to that end.
Thank you for doing the right thing, Dr. Farmer. That's very appropriate. I think we're down to item number 6, reports from Dr. Farmer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have 3 reports to present this afternoon, the first of which is the written reports, agenda item 6A, the WCWC report, the academics and student services update that have been provided to you in writing. I did want to highlight very briefly, we mentioned the WCWC Large Business of the Year. There has also been absolutely tremendous enrollment growth at WCWC under Dean Kristen McLaughlin's leadership. She and her team have just been exceptional. An increase on the order of 30% in enrollment. So again, congratulations, Dean McLaughlin. Please send our accolades back to your entire team. Fantastic work there. Transitioning to agenda item 6B, we have our presentation of our bus options. Just a little bit of background very quickly. We've had a committee, a broad-based committee, with representation from athletics, from the business office, from various other areas of the college, that was chaired by Chief Bigg, and Coach Jeff Lightfoot was very active in that committee. Over the past 5 to 6 months, they've been having various bus companies bring buses to Weatherford College. Normally, we lease the vast majority of our bus fleet, but we have one bus that we use as a flagship Weatherford College branded bus for marketing and recruitment purposes. And we need to replace that bus for various reasons, and I really want to express my appreciation to Chief Bigg, Coach Lightfoot, and all of those who have invested a lot of time looking at all these different buses, learning about these buses, and we appreciate your efforts. So Chief Bigg, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Farmer, and the board members for allowing me to discuss this with you. First thing I'll address, some of you may be wondering, why is the police chief up here talking to us about buses? A lot of people don't realize this, but the police department actually manages our vehicle fleet as well. Shortly after I arrived on campus in 2021, I got the exciting news that I would be responsible for a 38-passenger Freightliner bus, and I've learned a lot in the last couple of years. The bottom line is that our current bus no longer meets our needs. Specifically, it's having multiple mechanical issues, and also its seating capacity and gross vehicle weight rating is insufficient to transport our athletic teams, specifically Coach Lightfoot's baseball team with all their equipment and stuff. It just can't do it. So we were tasked with looking at different options out there. I've learned a lot over the last couple months looking at these different options. In your board packet, you should have a spreadsheet that shows the 4 main kind of contenders we looked at, and also on the agenda item itself, it gives you kind of a list of the specs that mostly I've put together on what I think we need. Specifically a 50-person seating capacity, a gross vehicle weight rating sufficient to transport the baseball team with their equipment, a bathroom, leg room for our student athletes,
A lot of them aren't normal-sized individuals, especially our basketball team. Our kids like their power outlets in every row so that they can charge their devices. And then safety. The three things that are most important to me are safety, reliability, and comfort. And if we can knock those three, or check those three boxes, we're in good shape. And really what it comes down to with the majority of these options on your spreadsheet, there's pros and cons to each different option, but any one of them will probably get the job done. I don't have a whole lot else to say. Coach Lightfoot is here if you have any questions related to on a kind of an athletic specific point of view. But we have basically 4 good options here, and we'll of course have to go through a sealed bid process if we decide to move forward on this. But again, that's all we got.
How many miles is on this current bus, just for curiosity purposes?
Offhand, I don't know. I can get you that information very easily, though.
I was just curious. Any other questions or comments about this? No. Okay, thank you very much, Chief.
Thank you, sir.
Moving to agenda item 6C, our final report of the day is over the Coyote radio station, and I'd like to thank the board for their support and the vision of adding a radio station to Weatherford College. Not many community colleges across the nation have their own radio station, and we knew when we acquired this that at that time it was Dave Calley and Brent Baker that they were going to kill it and do a great job. But I can tell you that after they added Gloria, they have exceeded those very high expectations and have just really done a tremendous job. We're so proud of you, Dave, Brent, and Gloria, and the effective work that your team has done on the Coyote radio station. So Dave Calley, the floor is yours.
Thank you, President Farmer. Appreciate it. My sincere apologies for the tardiness of your Christmas gift. But if you would like to open those, please feel free to do so. I would like to tell you what it is, but should I go ahead and tell them what it is? Okay, you each have a radio, okay? And I've yanked the knobs off. They're already tuned to 102.5. And the knobs I have them in my pocket. You're not getting them back, so you can't change the station, okay? So I want to thank you for the opportunity to talk about my favorite subject besides grandchildren, and that's radio, in particular the Coyote. I've been doing this for 36 years, and I've done everything there is to do in radio, every shift. At one time, I had a nationally syndicated show out of Dallas. We were on 30 stations coast to coast, New York to Hawaii. At one time, I was a ring announcer for the Von Erichs. Kevin and Carrie hired me to work with them in 1989 and 90 across the Metroplex. But I moved here in 1998, so 25 of my radio years have been right here in Parker County. I grew up in the 60s and 70s, and so I was heavily influenced by personality radio. Wolfman Jack, Russ Knight, The Weird Beard on KLIF, Ron Chapman, Bill Mack, Ralph Emery out of WSM in Nashville. Those guys, like those giants did with me, I try to do to our audience. The thought process is build a relationship with the listener, a trust with the person on the other end of the mic. Make them smile, make them think, make them laugh, maybe cry. To hold a mirror up to the listener and say, hey, this is you, Parker County, Palapino County, Wise County, Hood County. You're looking good, and we're going to make it through this day together. Personality radio, the single greatest compliment that we get, and I think I can speak for Brett. I've been listening to you for years, and I think I know you. I feel like I know you. There was nothing more boring to me than here's another 10 in a row commercial free. It's personality radio. It will sustain radio. When Weatherford College bought the radio station, we had a frequency. We had 88.5. A translator, which is 102.5. No equipment. We had a really beautiful building. 2 really nice speakers, and great acoustics. I had a lunch with Charlie Gilchrist, an old friend of mine, and was telling him what was going on. He said, how can I help? Within 2 weeks, we had a check for $100,000 to buy equipment. So, with the help of Stephen Kurtz and his brilliant team at Total IT in Dallas, we built a state-of-the-art radio station out of a recording studio, and it's something to be proud of. It rivals anything that you're going to see in the Metroplex or beyond. As a matter of fact, the guys who were working on it had just finished ESPN radio in Cleveland and said this is more beautiful than that. So I worked every single day, nights and weekends, holidays. I programmed every song, all 1,693 of them, wrote every jingle, every liner, sold and wrote almost every commercial, or non-commercial in this case. So if you hate the Coyote, blame me. If you love the Coyote, thank President Farmer and Max Smith and Brent Baker and all of you who made it possible. It's a wonderful radio station if you haven't listened to it. We're currently waiting for 5 days of good weather. By good weather, I mean relatively warm temperatures. I mean, it can be in the 40s, 50s, relatively light winds, because we're going to get 3 guys to climb 450 feet on a tower and put a new antenna on. That new antenna will double our wattage of our current coverage. Our current coverage, like I said, is Parker County, Palo Pinto County, Wise County to the north, and Hood County to the south. So we should saturate everybody with this new antenna. The new antenna is here, by the way. So that's exciting. So let's talk about radio. Does anybody listen to the radio anymore? Is it a dinosaur? Is it, did it go out with, button shoes or whatever? Well, people usually stream these days, right? Pandora, Spotify, listening to iTunes podcasts, those, Sirius XM, non-commercial radio. As late as 2022, research shows 84% of Americans listen to FM radio versus Sirius XM, Pandora, and Spotify. Overall, traditional radio reaches 93% of the United States population each and every week. That's why FM radio advertising is alive and well and will continue to be a viable method of reaching large audiences for the foreseeable future. People have asked me about the format. You might be surprised to learn that the #1 format in the country is country. And the second is classic rock. And today's country sounds so much like classic rock. If the Eagles started today, they would be a country band, let's face it. So I came up with the format of classic rock meets country. I salt in some new country songs and some 80s pop music, and you've got the format right here. I've learned very early in my career, and Brent knows this, know your audience. You will never, ever see a Clearasil commercial on the reruns of Andy Griffith on TV Land, right? You'll never see Help I've Fallen and I Can't Get Up on Nickelodeon during cartoons. You have to know your audience. And I feel like we know our audience. From 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., our target audience is women 35-54 and men 45 plus. That audience loves our mix of 80s pop, classic rock, and country, along with local news, weather, sports, and the very latest in what's happening in your neighborhood. That music mix is perfect for listening longer, listening in businesses. You went to a business yesterday and heard us. I got a call yesterday from Kathleen Durham at the Parker County Hospital District. She said, you guys are on the dollar store in Mineral Wells. I went from there to the hardware store. You're on in there as well. So that's very, very good news. Every single day, the Coyote is telling everyone tuned in what Weatherford College has to offer. At the Coyote, we're constantly talking to former, future, and present customers of Weatherford College. And I'm not talking about students. Someone asked me why I didn't program the station with a college student. My goal is to have students involved in programming, certainly, and that's going to happen when we start broadcasting classes this fall. They're going to be all over the place. I'm very excited to begin that chapter. But regular programming between the hours of 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. is geared to parents and grandparents, customers of Weatherford College. And what are we promoting? This May, we did a live broadcast from the NJCAA baseball tournament in Grand Junction, Colorado. Live coverage of the National Volleyball Tournament in Hutchinson, Kansas. live remotes all over the county. Tomorrow morning, when I leave here, I've got to set up at the Parker County Senior Center because we're doing their grand opening tomorrow. We're doing the morning show live from there. Live studio interviews with instructors on classes offered at WC. The very first thing we did, if you'll remember, was we did a live broadcast of Dr. Song's piano recital from the Alcac Fine Arts Center early in 2023. We promote our community. High school football every Friday night, live. We have a great relationship with law enforcement. Hundreds of public service announcements each and every month. Local nonprofits come to us. When somebody needs to get the word out, they come to the Coyote. When asked what is the very best form of advertising, time and time again, the number one answer is word of mouth. Radio is word of mouth times thousands. There's so much excitement around advertising on the Coyote. In November, we sold out the morning show, which has never happened in 22 years here. Our billing for September was $22,750 a month. October, $23,650. November, $26,850. Now that's going to go down in the winter months a bit and then come back up in the spring and summer. Let's talk about listenership. For years, terrestrial radio listenership has been measured by a service from Arbitron. Right now, that's Nielsen ratings. We don't subscribe, it's very costly, therefore we don't have those numbers, but you can get an idea by audience feedback, and you can get an idea by going into stores and hearing us on the radio there. I was in Davis City Pharmacy on the square here. They have us on in there. We had nearly 18,000 people listening to the baseball broadcast via the app alone. The app, for the morning show, we're averaging about 4,000 per quarter hour. That's all over the country, but a lot, most of it, is in the Metroplex. Tarrant, Dallas, Parker, Palo Pinto, Wise, and Hood counties. The basic rule is that you can multiply that, what you're hearing on the app, by 10, and that's who's listening on the radio. So we've got a ton of listeners in 1 year. Couldn't be more pleased. In 2024, we're going to be adding a midday show. We're going to be adding an afternoon show. We've had interest from folks. Dwayne Durrett would like to do a jazz show in the evening, things like that. The morning show, as you said, Dr. Farmer, is me, Brent, and Gloria Gilbert. We're just, you know, it's almost like Bob Kingsley himself has had his hand on this project, but it's been wonderful. I would take any questions that you might have.
We're going to be doing some golf course broadcast stuff.
Yeah, we did live from Canyon West for the golf tournament, and we were promised free golf lessons, right?
Needed.
Yes, sir.
Wolfman Jack had 500,000 watts. Are you going to be able to match that?
Yeah, and here's the thing, Wolfman Jack, that was illegal, and that's why I was out of Mexico. Yeah, he was XRB or something like that out of Mexico. I had a little transistor radio, and I listened to him. I listened to Ralph Emery out of WSM in Nashville. Of course, Bill Mack, the Midnight Cowboy, Ron Chapman, all those guys. But it's wonderful, and thank you. It's not big enough for how I feel for you guys doing this and having the dream along with me and Brent to get this done. It's wonderful. If you haven't seen the station, I think most of you have, please go by. We'll give you a tour. We'll give you guys a tour. We'd love for you to see it. But as you can tell, I'm excited about it. Any questions?
We love hearing from you, Mr. Calley, as always.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. I believe that brings us down to item number 7 for announcements. Mr. Baker?
Yes, sir. Several events coming up. President Farmer mentioned already the reception next Thursday in this room celebrating Coach McKinley. That begins at 4:30. We'd love to have y'all here. And by the way, they start conference play. The basketball teams do this Saturday at home against McLennan. Right out of the gate, they take on 2 really good teams. There's a fine arts event called Color Theory, Faculty Jazz and Painting on January the 30th. And then we're going to start baseball season very quickly, February the 3rd. Coach Lightfoot's team gets going against Lamar. and their February is packed. We do have a piano recital on February the 9th, and then our ex-students luncheon is February the 12th. That's all I have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Becker, as always. We're down to our closed session with regard to real property, with regard to public officers or employees. So at this time, approximately, looks like a 1:35, we'll enter into closed session. time now is approximately 2:10 PM, January the 11th, 2024. We have concluded our closed session for the board, and we are now back in open session and down to item number 9, consideration and possible action of real property. We do not have any action items on that topic today. Item number 10 on the agenda, consideration possible action, appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or an employee. We do not have any action items on item number 10 today. We're down to the adjournment. Do I hear a motion?
I so move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. We are adjourned.
I love that last family portrait, y'all. It works.